Could it actually be Keir Starmer rather than Donald Trump who leads the way in bringing peace to Ukraine? Let's have a talk about what's happened at this London summit that has been happening today. As I'm sure you are all aware, and I do not need to replay the clip to you because you've all already seen it, President Trump and Volodymyr Zelenskyy had a pretty big fallout in the Oval Office in the White House. It was not something that you would expect to see from two world leaders having a spat like that on camera in front of live press. It was quite something, and everyone's got their opinions on whose fault that argument was. Was it Zelensky's fault? Was it Trump's fault? People have got their opinions, but at the end of the day, I think we can all agree it did not go well, and it left a lot of questions remaining about what the hell we are going to do about Ukraine. So we've ended up with this London summit. The following day, Zelenskyy was in London meeting with Keir Starmer. We then had all these European leaders flocking to London as well. They've had this summit at Lancaster House to figure out what is Europe going to do given the fallout with Trump. We even had Zelenskyy meeting with the king. A lot of people saying that the king is a big priority for him to have a role in ensuring peace in Ukraine because he's always wanted to be a peacemaker. Apparently, I'm sure Zelenskyy enjoyed his trip to see the king there. But let's get into the detail of what's actually been agreed at this summit. So we've had Keir Starmer and other European leaders offering more cash to Ukraine. Some of you will think that's a good thing, some of you will think that is a bad thing and we should not be throwing more money at this war. But basically, EU leaders, and European leaders I should say, because we're not in the EU, have decided together, look, we cannot 100% rely on Trump. We need the US, but we need to step up to the mark in Europe to sort out Ukraine. So specifically, Keir Starmer has come up with a new plan to loan Ukraine, give Ukraine a loan to fund 5,000 air defense missiles. And there's going to be a deal that includes 1.6 billion of UK cash to help them in defending their country. He also notes that these defense missiles will be made in Belfast, which will create jobs, apparently. Okay, so let's get into the specifics though about have they thought about peace? Have they just thought about throwing more money at Ukraine, or have they just thought about or have they actually thought about bringing this war to an end? So I want to show you this. This is what the Telegraph has laid out in their summary of what happened at the summit. So Starmer says, we will keep military aid flowing and keep increasing the economic pressure on Russia to strengthen Ukraine now. Second, we agreed that any lasting peace must ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security, and Ukraine must be at the table. Okay, so that probably means people getting angry if we hear of more phone calls between Trump and Putin that don't have Zelenskyy involved. So quite a divide emerging between the EU and the White House on this, and they say it must ensure Ukraine's sovereignty and security. That's quite broad and unclear. Does that mean that the areas that are currently occupied by Russia must be handed back over to Ukraine? Ukraine must have all their land back in any peace deal? Or does sovereignty mean that you could have a referendum in those areas, and if they vote to be part of Russia, they can become part of Russia? It's not completely clear. We will find out more details as time goes on, or maybe we won't. Third, in the event of a peace deal, we will keep boosting Ukraine's own defense capabilities to deter any future invasion. That is a really crucial point there. And the reason why that is important is because a lot of people are wanting this war to end and wanting the compromise to be made where land is given to Putin so that we can stop sending our British money to Ukraine. But it sounds like even if there is a compromise made and the war is brought to an end and there is a peace deal, our money will keep going to Ukraine. Will it be as much money as we've been giving them previously? Maybe not, but our money will still keep going to Ukraine. Let me know in the comments what you think of that. Is that a good idea, or is that a slap in the face to British taxpayers? We've also had Trudeau say that he might be happy to put Canadian troops on the ground to enforce a peace deal. Seems like Europe generally coming together and quite liking the idea of some sort of, a European army of sorts. Countries all willing to put their troops into Ukraine to help ensure the peace. If there is an agreement, we do not have an agreement with Putin yet to end this, but if there were one, still seems to me like this, from what we've heard from this summit, that there's not really much progress on hacking out the details of what an agreement with Putin would look like. So I don't think we're getting very close to a deal here. And it seems like from Zelensky's fallout with Trump that he's not willing to make the compromises that are necessary to get any sort of deal with Putin now. So I have a feeling this war will definitely be rumbling on for some time. And looks like regardless of whether it ends or it continues, taxpayer cash is going to keep going to Ukraine regardless. So and then let's just talk about the US. Have they said we hate Trump? How dare he bully our little Zelenskyy in the White House? No, the Prime Minister has tried. I mean, the Prime Minister has just quite successfully built a good rapport with President Trump, which was quite impressive for a man with not very many social skills, it's fair to say. So he said that the US is not an unreliable ally, and he's talked about how good our relationship is with them. And he says that any kind of agreement that is made needs to have US backing. He says the UK is prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air, but together with others, Europe must do the heavy lifting. So Europe willing to step in and to make more of a role, but he says, but to support peace in our continent and to succeed, this effort must have strong US backing. Okay, so I'm sure there are going to be more meetings with Trump going on. I'd be interested to see if there is another meeting between Trump and Zelenskyy that can go a little bit more calmly. But anyway, those are the latest updates on the Ukraine situation and the summit that's just happened here in Britain. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Chloe Dobbs. Make sure you're subscribed to the Reason channel if you're not already. See you next time.